Good evening. This is Common Sense. I'm William Ferguson. And looking at what the Democrats are trying to do to this country, I think back. When I was in grade school, we were taught about Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims, the first people that came over to the United States from England. And it was hard for them. It really was. They had to tough out a northeast winter. And they had no idea when they left what they were going to endure. And so they got here and they endured. And they worked. And they lived. And they kept their faith in God. That God would help them through this. And I'm sure they had all kinds of ideas and dreams and hopes for the future of this brand new country that they had just come into. And so they worked and they lived and they prayed and they kept going. And then they started to form villages, communities, and they kept going and building and populating. And then there were wars. There was the Revolutionary War. And the people that were here at that time, they decided, no, we're not going to live under the tyranny of the King of England. We're going to have our freedom, the freedom that we dreamt about when we first got here. And so they fought the war, the Revolutionary War. And at the end of that war, the Declaration of Independence was written and signed. Now, the signing of that document wasn't just, oh, here, sign it. There you go. No. They were actually risking life and limb when they signed. Sorry. When they signed that, because the king didn't want to hear any of that. And so, but they signed it anyway. They said, we don't want you. And they rebelled against the socialist king. Then President Lincoln, after years, was elected into the office of president. And he saw a need in this country, a need to abolish slavery. And so the Union, the North, decided we are going to free the slaves. And thus, the Civil War was fought to free the slaves of this country. And, you know, you hear all this, oh, well, we had slaves and it was bad. But that's all you really ever hear about it anymore. Slavery was bad. In fact, I'm sure that there's kids being born right now that probably may not even know, because the statues are being taken down of the people that fought in the Civil War. But we know that slavery was wrong. That was probably the worst thing that this country ever did, was slavery. And who was it that was pushing for slavery? The Democrats. It was actually the Democrats that were pushing this. And it was the conservatives, the Republicans, that were fighting against it. And so there came the point that the North, the Union, won the Civil War. And so it was Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. He had the Emancipation Proclamation drafted, and he signed it, which freed the slaves of this country. And then there was the Mexican War, which the Western European people of the United States fought the Mexicans, the Latinos, mostly for Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and California. But it was still a war, and we won. And then we can go through the wars. There was the French and Indian War. And then we got to the big war, World War I. We fought in World War I, and with our allies, we won. We fought in World War II with our ally, Great Britain, and we won. We went to Korea, and we fought the Koreans. Nobody won in that war. We went to Vietnam. Nobody won in that war. And ever since then, there have been stupid ideas, really. They weren't wars. They were stupid ideas, of which one I came inches of being there. But they decided to do something else, to try something else in Iraq. And so, but the point I'm trying to get to is the people, the military of this country, and it wasn't always military. The Civil War was fought just by farmers, just people of the country. The Revolutionary War was fought by just the people of the country, just people that were fed up with the tyranny and the oppression of King, I believe, Henry of Great Britain. They didn't want that anymore. And so there have been war after war fought. And yet, in today's society, the Democrats, they want to just erase all that. You don't need to remember all of the deaths, the war, the hurt, the pain, the suffering that the people of this country have suffered in order to get this country to where it is. We have pushed forward, always forward. Up until, really, we got to Clinton. Clinton started pushing backwards. He started deteriorating the United States, the idea, the concept, the beauty, the freedom. And then it's been tried to push it back to where it should be. Well, finally, after the worst president ever in history, Obama, we have Donald Trump, President Trump. And he is doing everything he can to push forward again. He, I believe, understands the importance of honoring the people that fought and died to keep this country free, so that this country could build and keep building, keep moving forward. We are not the world. We are a different country than the world. We don't want the world. We don't want a dictator. We want our freedom. And freedom has come at a great, great cost to this country, to the men and women of the military of this country. And yet, the Democrats, they don't respect that. They don't care. They don't care about anything anymore, I don't think. In fact, and this is just a thought. You can say I wear a tinfoil hat if you want. I don't care. But it's just a thought. Think about this, if you would. It wasn't too long ago that the social justice warrior, liberal, Democrat, Nazis, whatever you want to call them, decided that it was wrong to have statues of Confederate generals, those who fought in the Civil War against the Union. Why? That was part of the history of the United States. Should Germany remove Auschwitz and the other concentration camps that are there so that they can remember what their history was? I don't think so. And I don't believe we should have taken down the statues of the generals and those who fought in the Civil War. I think that should be up front in our minds so that we remember not to do that. Don't let history repeat itself. Now, there's also a caravan coming up from Honduras. And the Mexicans say that they will help. Okay, they'll help us. But the Democrats, they want to push these people through. Let them come. Let them come. Have some sympathy for these people. It's humane to let them invade our country. I have never, ever heard of a business being run off the feelings of the employees or the employers. It doesn't work that way. Companies run on practical thinking, on logistics, on overhead, paying the bills. And so when you say, oh, the poor people, okay, no, not the poor people, because they are the ones that made the decision to start walking, and that's a long way to walk. Okay? Now, you and I both know it's very difficult to leave your home, let alone to leave your home and go to a completely different country. Let alone leave your home and know that you're going to have to walk through at least one country a long way to get to where you want to go. And you're not even sure that you will be accepted when you get to where you're going. So, what motivated these people? I know the greatest motivator to man anymore is money. So did Soros send a little money down to Honduras and say, hey, look, folks, I'll give you this money if you come on up here. But why? Why really would we want them up here? Think about this. I just talked about taking out all the statues of the generals that fought during the Civil War to free the slaves. So are the Democrat liberals, the media, anybody thinking, you know, when they brought the black slaves over from Africa, they couldn't talk. They didn't understand the language. So if we let these people up from Honduras, maybe they don't understand the language or what's going on. And we can pay them peanuts, nothing really, to work. Well, okay, let's put them on orchards and pick fruit, weed fields, do whatever, and pay them very, very little so that they can at least afford a roof over their head, clothes, and food. During the period of slaves, prior to this, that's what the plantation owners were doing. We will give you food, shelter, and clothing, but you work for us, and that's all. So is it the liberals are wanting to reinstate slavery, only using Hondurans, South and Central Americans as the slaves? Is that what they're trying to do? I know they want to have one-payer health care, which is ridiculous, because when the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution, they realized that each individual person in this society would be responsible for themselves. not the government responsible for them. The government's job is to ensure that proper laws are passed, finance for projects are passed, oversight of different parts of the government are fulfilled. The government is not, absolutely not, here to tell you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. They're not here to take all your money so that they can sit in Washington, D.C., getting drunk on their egos, their narcissism, their arrogance, thinking that they are the great God of the world, of this country. That's not what this country was based on. So when you vote, think about it. Do you want to be enslaved by the Democrats? Or do you want to be freed by the Republicans? That's all I've got for now. Please pray for the leadership of this country, that they will follow close to God's Word and guide this country to safety, security, peace, prosperity, and unity. And pray for the first responders, police, military, that they will be brought home safely to their loved ones and families. I thank you for watching, and I ask that you join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for Common Sense.